feel like it's ages since I've sat down and done one of my shelf indulgence videos, so I'm a bit like blah, blah, blah. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I love to talk about books, and I'm somewhere a bit different today for my shelf indulgence video. I'm in a hotel room in Aberdeen because I've come away with my mum. She loves Aberdeen and we've just decided to come away for a bit of a break because I think we both need one. So it's not exactly a very interesting backdrop, but I do apologise. We've spent the day walking around Aberdeen city centre, visiting charity shops, looking for books and things, and we've come back to the hotel for a bit of a break because our feet are killing us. So I thought, while my mum's resting, I will jump on and do one of my shelf indulgence videos where I tell you what I've read, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan to read next. And because I've been around those charity shops, I have a little bit of a mini book haul to share with you as well. So what have I been reading? Well, if you'd watched my March wrap up that went up on Saturday, you'll know I haven't finished anything since then. So what am I currently reading? I've got 3 books on the go at the moment. The first one is Kerry Andrews' Swansong. So these are both library books, so they're going to have shiny covers. This is set in an unnamed place in the west coast of Scotland, and it follows a girl called Polly who has come up to stay alongside her mum to get away from London for a bit after her and a friend were involved in a traumatic incident on a night out in London. One of the first things she sees when she arrives in this tiny little lochside village is this creepy man ripping apart a bird. She has befriended the barman of the local pub who's near her age. They've started a sort of relationship, and she keeps seeing slightly ghostly apparitions when she is near the loch. I think I'm about 50 pages into this. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm getting a little bit tired of English girl thinks Scotland's wet and boring. I'm also not a huge fan of the protagonist, but that normally isn't too much of an issue for me. She's just a bit, she comes across as a lot younger than she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be a university student, but some of her attitude and inner thoughts, because this is told in first person, she seems a little bit immature. I'm not sure where the story is going at the moment. The man who was tearing apart the bird has made another appearance so far. I think there's something that's going to be going on with him. There's also these little inserts of a more kind of poetic voice that seems to be of, I don't know, maybe a young girl who has died or was killed. And I think that's probably going to tie in with these kind of ghostly apparitions that happen near the loch side. So we'll see where it takes us. I haven't really formed an opinion on this book yet. Similarly, I'm only about 50 pages into this, which is Claire Harman's Charlotte Bronte, A Life, which is obviously the biography of Charlotte Bronte. It's quite a tome, considering I think Charlotte, oh no, which of the Brontes? Was she the one that maybe lived into an older age than her sisters? But even by saying that, it wasn't a particularly old age. It was either her late 20s or maybe possibly into her 30s. So there's a lot to say about Charlotte Bronte in this, but she was the most prolific of the 3 published Bronte sisters. So I'm hoping that that's going to give a good insight into her books, learning about her early life and the sad loss of her mother so far, getting a bit of an insight into her father's character, which is a thing. And yeah, I think it's written really accessibly. I'm really interested in this, and I'm really excited to learn more about Charlotte Bronte. I also have an audiobook on the go called The Museum of Abandoned Secrets, and I'm filming on my phone, so I can't even check this. I've totally forgotten who it's by, so you'll see it on the screen anyway. So this is the 30 plus hour long audiobook that I mentioned at the end of my March wrap up that went up on Saturday, and I don't know if I've just been more tired this week or there's something about the book, but I keep falling asleep before I've got to the end of my half hour, so I have to keep rewinding to the last bit that I remember when I try and pick it up the following night. So I haven't made a heck of a lot of progress in this, which is frustrating considering it is a long audiobook. I think I'm about 3 hours in. This is set in Ukraine. Can't really explain a lot of it because I'll give you some reasons, like the background of why I picked it up in the first place. So I found this readathon that I'm thinking about taking part in. It's the Eurovisionathon, which is just, it's fabulous. I will link the introduction video and everything below, and I'll also put on the screen who hosts it, because again, I've sat down to do this with no preparation at all. But basically what you do is you can read as many books as you want from it, but you read a book from each of the countries that makes it through to Eurovision Song Contest final, or you can, because the readathon starts, I think it's on the 12th of April, or the 15th of April, and you try and read as many books as you can from the countries that are in the Eurovision Song Contest. But not all of those will make it to the final, but we don't really find out who's made it into the final until a few days before the final, I think. So really you're reading from the bigger pool of Eurovision entrants. And then basically when the Eurovision Song Contest happens, if you've read a book from a country, you get its points, and it's just to see who gets the most points. So I'm toying of joining in with this. Well, no, I'm not toying. I am joining in with this, but I don't think I'll get many books read for it because I've just had my allocated books for the next round of the Booktube Prize, and so, you know, I do need to prioritise that reading. But I'm hoping to read at least a couple of books for the Eurovisionathon. And although it doesn't start until the 12th of April, I had found this book because it's set in Ukraine, and I'm pretty sure Ukraine are going to get some good points in Eurovision this year, because if you're not from Europe, the Eurovision Song Contest, countries don't really get the points on the quality of the song. A lot of the time it's political, and obviously with the awful things that are happening in Ukraine, there will definitely be a lot of points given to them, but actually their song's banging. So I'm reading it because I really like the song. It's one of the ones that I want to see do well in the competition anyway, but because this audiobook is so long and I only listen to half an hour a night or less than that because I keep falling asleep, I have started it before Eurovisionathon actually starts. I don't know, you know, how morally right that is, so I might just do Eurovisionathon but not like compete with other people in terms of points. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. It does sound really interesting. I cannot for the life of me remember why I picked it. I went through and I looked at lots of different Ukrainian fiction, but this was the one that really jumped out to me, and now I can't remember why. But so far it's told by a woman who works as a TV producer, and she has a friend who is an artist who has died in a car crash, and there's lots of discussions on what it means to be an artist in Ukraine, about being Ukrainian, and I'm just finding it really, really interesting. I think I've only read one other book set in Ukraine before, and it was Jonathan Safran Foer. Was it Foer Safran? Yeah, Jonathan Safran Foer's, oh my god, it was years ago, I can't remember what it's called. Again, I'll put it up on the screen. Maybe I should reread that book, I don't know. I can't remember how I felt about it, but when I think about it now, I think it was a bit of a strange book and I didn't really get it. So this one I'm really connecting with a lot more. The writing is beautiful. It's stunning. It's just so, it's clever and beautiful. Like, it's not flowery, it's just really rich. And obviously that will be in part due to the translator, who again I will put their name up on the screen as well. Yeah, just I'm really enjoying it. The audiobook narrator is good as well. It's a really nice experience. So that's what I'm currently reading. This is very rambly. I'm very, very sorry. I feel like it's ages since I've sat down and done one of my shelf indulgence videos, so I'm a bit like blah, blah, blah. Plus I'm away from home and I'm tired. Anyway, so that's what I'm currently reading. What I'm going to be reading next will be my books for the Booktube Prize quarterfinals. I always get semi and quarter mixed up. So the quarterfinals, and this time I am doing the non-fiction category, but I haven't had the chance to go through the email and see what books I'm reading in any great detail, although there are 2 on there that were on my list of books that I voted for definite, so that's nice, seeing as the last round there wasn't really much. So it will definitely be those as that I get to next. So I'll probably do a video where I go into those properly, or maybe I'll just tag it onto my octafinal rankings. That's probably what I'll do. And then I'll see if there's any space within that to read anything more for Eurovisionathon, and I'll talk about that in next week's shelf indulgence video. But onto my book haul. So on our way up here yesterday, we took a very long way to get here to Aberdeen, because we went through Inverness first, because I think I've mentioned this before, there's a bookshop there that I've been wanting to visit called Leakey's, and it's in an old church. And so we just thought, well, we don't have any set plans or anything, we're just really trying to get away, so we decided to go up through Inverness and then along to Aberdeen. So we were in Inverness yesterday afternoon and we got to Leakey's. It's in an old church and it's on 2 levels of just used books. So I had a great time looking through the shelves, wandering about. It was really, really nice. Unfortunately, I didn't buy a single thing. There were a couple of books that I picked up, but for secondhand books, they were actually quite expensive, and the ones that I'd found were not in great condition for the price that was being charged for them, and they weren't books that I was crazy about getting my hands on. So I decided, because I knew we were obviously going to be raiding the charity shops today, I thought, do you know what, it's nice enough that I've been here, I've seen the place. I didn't buy anything, but as you can see, I made up for it today. So what have I got? So the first book I've picked up is one that I have already read, but I read it as a library book and I really enjoyed it, and so I wanted a copy for my own collection. And this is Jesamyn Ward's Sing Unburied, Sing. I think I read this before Booktube, so I probably haven't talked about this on the channel before, but this is the story. Does it say what her name is? No, it gives you very little, and there's a sticker on it as well. It gives you very little background on what the book is about. But this is about a young woman who has a young child. She's quite, for different reasons, she's quite an absent mother. She's had to, I think, move back in with her parents after the relationship breakdown, and there's a whole lot of difficulties in that. And this is very much a book about family relationships, family ties, and the Black experience of those topics. And it's just really well written. I remember I think I read it for like the Reading Women challenge, and it was, you had to read a book. One of the prompts was read a book by Jesamyn Ward, so this is the one that I chose because it was the only one that I'd heard of. And I remember just being really impressed with the quality of the writing in this book, so I definitely wanted to buy it to have it on my shelves. The next one, I hope I've not made a dud purchase with this. So this is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. Now I read Travelling with Pomegranates, which is a travel memoir that Sue Monk Kidd and her daughter, I'll put it on the screen, her daughter wrote about travelling in the Mediterranean. I think it's mainly Greece. I read it a few years ago, and I remember liking it, but also kind of feeling it was very privileged, and they were kind of trying to escape rich people problems while they were traveling. I can't remember now, but although I felt like the writing was a bit much in that memoir, I did enjoy it, if that makes any sense at all. And so I saw this, and the title is ringing a bell. I'm sure it's been on my radar for a while. On Goodreads I had it on my like library list, but then when I read the back, I'm not sure, because the word black to describe people is used multiple times in the blurb, but I think this is a story about a white woman. So it says it's set in South Carolina in 1964. The Secret Life of Bees tells the story of Lily Owens, whose life has been shaped around the blurred memory of the afternoon her mother was killed. When Lily's fierce-hearted black stand-in mother, Rosaline, insults three of the deepest racists in town, Lily decides to spring them both free. They escape Tiburon, South Carolina, a town that holds the secrets of her mother's past. Taken in by an eccentric trio of black beekeeping sisters, Lily is introduced to the mesmerising world of bees and honey and the Black Madonna. This is a remarkable novel about divine female power, a story that women will share and pass on to their daughters for years to come. So this could either go two ways. This could be like The Help, which is problematic, or it could be about a white woman coming to understand the black women's experience, which could be interesting if it's done well. If anyone's read this, is this is this the sort of book that is going to be a good like allyship read, or is it gonna piss me off? Let me know. Then I went for My Name is Lucy Barton by Lucy Barton even, by Elizabeth Strout. Elizabeth Strout is an author that people keep talking about. I feel like I should read her. I think she did the Olive Kitteridge books, and I do think I've got the first Olive Kitteridge book on my Kindle, but I haven't read it yet. But this one's nice and short, to get a taste of what this author is about. And so this story is about when Lucy finds herself in a hospital recovering from, is it surgery? Yeah, she's had surgery, and she wakes in a hospital bed in New York, and her estranged mother is there, and through their conversations we learn about Lucy's earlier rural childhood, and the decisions easy for me to say decisions she has made that have brought her to where she is in life, and obviously why her mother's estranged, what the relationship is there, and I think there's some reckoning to be had between the two of them, and Lucy may be reconsidering the path she's taken in her life. So I love things about, well, I like family relationships and family secrets anyway, but mother and daughter as well is always one that will speak to me. Then I picked up, yay, a stunning, if you ignore the price sticker obviously, a stunning copy of Science for Lost Children by Sarah Moss. If you've been watching my channel for a while now, you'll know that I've read 2 Sarah Moss books now and love them both, and I want to read everything she's ever written. So obviously I was going to pick this up. It was only £1, so yes. So this is a bit different from the previous. So I've read Summer Water and I've read Night Waking, and so this is slightly different in that it's a historical fiction, because this is set in the 1880s, and it's about a couple who have only been married a very short while, when it says they embark on a 6-month period of separation, but it seems to be for employment. I don't think it's like a leading up to divorce separation. One of them goes away to work in Tokyo, to build lighthouses. And his wife Ali is a doctor and begins work at an asylum in Portsmouth, Plymouth, somewhere down south, Falmouth. Just what that separation is like for them and their experiences while they're living apart. And Sarah Moss is really good at getting to, and in fact it says something strange on the back here. It says, this is the triumphant continuation of Sarah Moss's inquiry into the workings of the human mind and heart, which sounds a bit wanky, but with Sarah Moss I can kind of believe it, so I'm looking forward to that one. Then I picked up Every Light in the House Burnin by Andrea Levy, and I've been interested in reading something by this author for a while, but just hadn't found any of her books, and I think she writes a lot about the Windrush generation, and that's something that I'm interested in. I read a couple of non-fiction books about the Windrush generation. Was that last year? Potentially the year before. I think it was 2020. This book is about one such Windrush generation member, Winston Jacob, who has been, you know, a mystery, particularly about his life prior to coming to Britain. You know, his daughter has not ever had any details of what his life was like before. He's quite secretive about it. But then when her father retires, he becomes ill quite quickly. And Andrea, is it Andrea? No, she's Andrea. The character's Angela. Angela has to spend more time with her dad to try and take the strain off her mum. And, you know, begins to, I think, learn more about her father, and also about her own childhood, her own upbringing in a London council flat. So I just think that sounds really interesting. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good book. And then my final purchase was O Caledonia by Elspeth Barker. And I was drawn to this purely because it's a Scottish book. But then also I was like, oh, this is probably going to be a goodie because the introduction is written by Maggie O'Farrell, and it does sound like a really interesting book. I've never heard of it before, but this is about Janet. So Janet is found dead at the bottom of the stairs. She's 16 years old. She's wearing one of her mother's evening gowns. But this isn't a murder mystery by the sounds of it. This is more of a look at quite a lonely life that Janet led, being the black sheep of the family, not as pretty as her sisters, and growing up in this drafty Scottish house. So that sounds really interesting. And the cover, that's a doll's house and a raven, and it really interested me on the back because it says, a life spent in a drafty Scottish castle where roses will not grow and a jackdaw decides to live in a doll's house. And that's just the kind of creepy but kind of cool sounding thing that I want to read about. I got all of these for £8. Like, so even if, like, say this one is problematic and deserves to be burned or something, that's still an amazing use of my very limited funds. So happy book shopping for me. So what have you been reading? Let me know what you've read recently or what you're currently reading, and whether you're interested in joining in the Eurovisionathon alongside me. That could be quite fun, set up a little bit of competition, who can get the most points. But I will see you on Saturday for hopefully a less rambly, more structured video where I do my Booktube Prize rankings, reviews, and let you know what I'm going to be reading for the quarterfinals for that as well. So until then, bye. And in terms of like Lucy coming to term,